Salut, je m'appelle Trystan Petrash. J'étais récemment à Montréal et la ville est magnifique. Et la nourriture était qui m'a fait réfléchir. Un second, pourquoi je parle français? Un moment. That's better. As I was saying, while in Montreal, I kept thinking about food, of course, but it also made me think of all of the techniques I've learned in all the years I've worked in restaurants. And arguably one of the coolest techniques I ever learned how to do was to debone an entire chicken. So today, I'm gonna show you exactly that. But because it is me, we're then gonna take it and turn it into the biggest piece of fried chicken you have ever seen. As far as what kind of chicken to use, it doesn't really matter. This is a 1.3 kilogram or 3-pound fryer chicken I picked up at my local grocery store for a whopping $10. Nothing fancy or special. Now, as far as what kind of knife to use, that also doesn't matter. And to prove it, I'll be using a boning fillet knife that is thin, extremely flexible, with a thin, razor-sharp point on one half of the chicken, and my favorite everyday Japanese chef knife, which is fairly rigid with only a bit of flex and a little lighter than a German stainless steel on the other half. However, to begin, we're going to use a pair of kitchen shears to cut out the backbone. Start with the tail, comically referred to as the Pope's nose, and snip the bones alongside all the way up to the neck. Chickens have fairly soft bones, so it won't take a ton of effort to do. You'll notice this lump just above the hips, so it's love handles. It's called the oyster, and it's considered the best part of the chicken. So as you cut, try to avoid it and go around. Transfer the bones to a baking sheet lined with parchment paper, as we'll be utilizing the entire bird, bones and all, to make the dish. I'll be using the fillet knife first. The chicken wing connects to the rib cage and would be considered its shoulder. Take the tip of your knife and make quick, shallow cuts until the joint is exposed. It's comprised of cartilage, which is super soft and easy enough to slice through with your knife. With the wing detached, we'll be focusing on removing the breast. To do it, take your knife and make quick, shallow cuts alongside the rib cage, using the bones as a guide. Pulling back on the bones as you cut will help to expose the meat better. Arguably, one of the most annoying bones to remove is the wishbone, situated at the neck between the breasts. Use your fingers to find the bone and where it's attached. Then take the very tip of the knife to cut away next to it until you're able to snag your finger around the bone and pull it out. With the wishbone, wing, and breast attached, we can begin working on the thigh, starting with the hip joint. Find where it's attached, then just simply pry it apart until the thigh bone pops out of the hip joint. Continue using the bones as a guide, making shallow cuts until the thigh is completely detached from the rest of the bone. Now, if you're a regular viewer, you know we've deboned many a chicken thigh on this channel, but even with the leg still attached to the thigh, it's not much different. Use the shape of the bones as your guide and slice along the top to expose them. With the thigh bone exposed, take your index finger and poke a hole underneath, then use your knife to slice through and detach it. Then take the edge of the blade and use it to scrape down the bone to the connected knee joint. The goal is to have as little meat still remaining on all of the bones as possible. After the thigh bone is detached, slice along what is essentially the ankle of the chicken and separate the skin. You'll notice a bunch of white, stringy pieces coming out from underneath. These are the leg tendons, and we'll be removing them after the bone. Like with the thigh bone, use the edge of the knife to scrape the bone clean down to the joint, so as to not lose any meat. All that's left is to detach the knee and remove both bones. Make a few more quick, shallow cuts along both sides of the knee joint. A little trick I like to do to make it easier is to grab both bones in between my fingers and use them to pull back on the bone to help expose the knee joint further. The knee is pretty apparent where it attaches, so just continue to make quick, shallow cuts around it until it comes off. And as you can see, there's hardly any meat left on it. Rub your hand along the chicken to check for any stray pieces of bone or cartilage you may have missed. Now, technically speaking, you don't need to remove the tendons. They are edible, however, removing them will dramatically improve the texture. You'll basically see where they are running through the leg meat. Use the tip of the knife to go underneath them and detach them. And that's it. We've successfully deboned half of the chicken. For the second half of the chicken, I'll be using my chef knife. Start by repeating the same process as the first half and detach the wing joint. Then slice along the rib cage using it as a guide to remove the breast. Pop the hip joint out and detach the thigh. To completely remove the ribs, continue making quick, shallow cuts along the bones until you get to this thin layer of cartilage located at the bottom of the breast, and simply slice underneath. The breastbone attaches in between and through the breast. Once it's exposed a bit, you can simply pull it out, removing any remaining cartilage still attached. Even with a chef knife, I was still able to remove almost all of the meat attached to the bone. Finally, the remaining thigh and leg. Use your knife to trace along the length of the bones. Poke a hole underneath the thigh bone, detach with the knife, and scrape the meat down. Slice the ankle and scrape down the meat to the knee joint. Then pull back on the bones to expose the knee joint further and slice along both sides to detach. Clean the remaining tendons, and boom, a fully deboned chicken. For the bones, we're gonna be roasting them, but first we need to break them down into smaller pieces. You can use a knife, but they're so soft that you can literally break them apart with your hands. Heat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit and roast the bones. We'll be using them to flavor a glaze. In a pot, combine soy sauce, mirin, sweet cooking wine, sake, gochujang, Korean fermented hot pepper paste, corn syrup to give it that nice sheen, and a bit of sugar. Stir to mix, then heat over medium-low heat. When the bones are nice and deeply browned, remove them from the oven and add them to the sauce. This is why we broke them into smaller pieces. Otherwise, they'd be sticking out from the sauce and we'd lose all that great flavor. Continue simmering until it's reduced by about a third and passes the spoon test, meaning the liquid shouldn't run down after you run your finger across the spoon. Remove the bones and strain the sauce through a fine mesh strainer to catch any loose bits of bone or cartilage. Set aside to allow it to cool to room temperature. With the chicken skin side down, season generously with kosher salt and freshly cracked black pepper. Then flip the bird over and generously season the skin with kosher salt. In order to achieve a crispy fried chicken crust on the outside, you can leave it uncovered in the fridge for at least 24 up to 72 hours to dry the skin out. But the quickest way to achieve that wonderful crust is to simply dust it with either flour or starch, then shake off any excess. Now, as far as what to use to fry the chicken, I recommend a non-stick pan, a cast iron pan, or what I prefer using is this large enameled cast iron braising pan. Just ensure it has a thick or heavy bottom to prevent burning. But as always, you do you. Heat over medium-high heat, and when it's nice and hot, add enough of a neutral oil to cover the entire bottom of the pan. Then fold the chicken in half and carefully lower it into the pan and spread it out so that the skin is making complete contact. Continue cooking over medium-high heat until you just start to see the sides turning white. This will take some time, a good 5 to 7 minutes, so don't rush it. Because the skin is very dry and there's lots of fat, it won't burn anytime soon. Place a piece of aluminum foil on top and place a heavy pan or weight on top of that. This helps to not only ensure the skin continues to make complete contact the entire time, giving it that sexy brown crust, but also allows it to cook more evenly. Continue cooking until there's only a bit of pink remaining on the breasts and the skin is golden brown. Then using tongs, gripping from the breasts, carefully flip over and cook for another 2 to 4 minutes, or until it reaches an internal temperature of 160 degrees Fahrenheit and the juices run clear. Transfer the fried chicken to a cutting board, then using a sharp knife, do absolutely nothing. Just walk away. Allowing the chicken to rest for at least 5 to 10 minutes will ensure it stays nice and juicy. Brush the chicken over with the glaze to give it a thin layer. Even after resting and brushing with the glaze, the skin is still super crispy. Finally, slice the chicken in half through the breasts, separate the thighs and the wings, cut into large 2-bite pieces. Then bust out your fanciest plate, Add the fried chicken and top with some thinly sliced green onion and toasted sesame seeds. And that's it. Korean whole fried chicken with a sticky gochujang glaze. If you've never deboned anything before, this can come across as daunting and intense, but it's actually far more easy than you'd expect it to be. And even if your first time trying looks a bit haggard and there's still lots of meat attached to the bones, that's perfectly okay. Learning new skills takes time, practice, and a bit of patience, but the rewards far exceed anything else. If you like my channel and are interested in supporting it while getting some cool perks, like access to my private Discord server where I post behind the scenes and upcoming episodes, bonus content, and shoutouts in episodes, you can check out my Ko-fi page. I'll leave a link for that in the description. And hey, if you've made it this far, consider liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing. They're the easiest ways to help the channel grow and reach a wider audience. Thanks for watching, and stay awesome.
Et la ville est... No. Et la ville est magnifique.
La nourriture était.
Et la nourriture était... Mouah, et mouah, et mouah, mouah, et mouah. Et la nourriture était... Mouah. Pourquoi? Pourquoi?
Pourquoi je parle français?
Pourquoi?
Pourquoi je parle français?
Pourquoi? 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 Qui me fait réfléchir? No, that's not even close.
Qui Montréal?
Yes, I have to translate it. I know, I suck. I've always been better at reading French than speaking it, but I did pretty good in Montreal. So I get points for that.